I've just watched the weigh-in for David Haye versus Mark Mori, and I must say, I am surprised by the conditioning of both men in there. I really am. Let's start with the Mark Mori. I think a lot has been made in the build-up to this fight that Mark Mori is a bodybuilder, and that he is going to be a hugely powerful type physique in there. Now, I'm going to be honest, having seen him at the weigh-in, it's not a physique that I'd be aiming for myself, you know. And I know I always say that boxing isn't a beauty contest, but this guy did not look in the best of shape at all. He really didn't. I mean, as I say, you don't need a six-pack to win in boxing, but this guy looked very, very heavy. When you've got a guy like Mark Mori, who his biggest flaws that I've been able to see are sort of slow foot speed, being a bit plodding, being a bit there to hit because he lacks the agility and lacks the sort of elusiveness. If he's coming in unfit, if he's coming in a bit heavy, that's going to surely make him an easier target to hit after the first few rounds, you know, when fatigue starts to set in. As with David Haye, and I did say this after I met David Haye at the Joshua DeLeon White weigh-in, but when I met him then, I thought David Haye looked really, really big, and to my surprise, he weighed in at 16 stone 3, which I believe is 227 pounds. Now let me say, that is absolutely massive for David Haye. It's, you know, it really is a massive, massive weight for him. Obviously, David Haye made his initial career at cruiserweight, and when he was fighting at heavyweight initially, he was not fighting far above the cruiserweight limit. I mean, I've never seen David Haye this size, and you could also tell, and again, it really isn't a beauty contest, but looking at him physically, I remember seeing him at the Derek Chisora fight, and he was a lot leaner, a lot more cut up, you know, than he was today. I mean, David Haye's a fantastic specimen, a fantastic athlete. He still had abs and stuff, but they weren't sort of deep abs like I've seen on the past. You know, they were. He was a lot chunkier, and not just in terms that he's bulked up in terms of muscle. I think he's carrying a bit more weight on him. And look, that may or may not make any difference in this Mark Mori fight, because David Haye may be so many levels above Mark Mori that it's all superfluous to an extent. But let me say, I do have concerns about David Haye's comeback. You know, I've had some people comment on my videos saying that age is not an issue and heavyweights peak later. Let me tell you, it is very dependent on the style of fighter you are. If you're someone who totally relies on speed and explosiveness, that is a young man's game. That is a young man's game. And if you have a young man's game, and then you take 3.5 years out of the ring, you come in a career heaviest by miles, you know, by what, 15 pounds, something like that, and you're 3.5 years older, you're suddenly in your late 30s, age becomes a factor, because David Haye is not going to use his jab, be low output, play a bit of chess with Mark Mori, outwork him in the angles. David Haye's going to be moving, he's going to be throwing bombs, he's going to be fighting with an athletic style. That's the only way he knows how. And I genuinely think this older David Haye, with this much weight on him, I think the combination of the two is a dangerous thing, you know. Mark Mori, probably he's not going to have the skill, he's probably not going to have the conditioning himself to expose that within David Haye. But I'd have severe concerns of David Haye up against a top 10 fighter at this point, without having seen him in the ring. Who's to say that his style would suit a man who weighs nearly 230 pounds? Who's to say his style would suit a man who is 35 going on 36? Let me know your thoughts. Did you see the weigh-in today? How did you rate the condition of the two men? Is it a relevant factor, or is the class gap here just so vast that it doesn't matter what they weigh in as? Let me know your thoughts. As always, thanks for watching.